Of time, we might just get started. So, tá fáilte go hagad a bhrí gan na hÉireann, you're all very welcome to the Royal Irish Academy. For those of you who I haven't met yet, my name is Michelle Doran, and I currently serve as the National Open Research Coordinator. While you're getting yourself settled, there's a few housekeeping announcements that I need to go through. So, in the unlikely event of an evacuation, there are 2 exits to the back of the room on the left and the right, and 1 to the front of the room on your left-hand side. Can I kindly remind you to please switch your mobile phones to silent for today's festivities? I'd also like to remind you that the event is being live streamed and recorded, and recordings will be shared after the event. And we also have a photographer with us throughout the day. So if you don't want to be recorded or photographed, please just make yourself known to a member of the professional staff. So, we have a really full and exciting programme ahead of us over the next couple of days, and I'm just going to take a few moments now to go through some slides outlining today's agenda. We'll begin with a welcome address from William Beausang, Assistant Secretary-General of the Research and Innovation Division of the Department of Further Higher Education, Research, Innovation and Science. Following this, Joy Owongo, Founding Director of the Training Centre in Communications Africa, will deliver her keynote address, Global Open Research, Building Equitable and Sustainable Open Science Ecosystems. And then we'll move straight into our first panel, which will discuss global open research. The panel will be chaired by Alexandra Della Palta, Director of the Research Data Alliance Europe, and the panelists will be Joy Owongo, Rebecca Lawrence, Vice Chair of DORA, and Lothara Matas, Executive and Technical Director of La Referencia. After this session, then, we'll break for lunch. Lunch will take place in the front of the building. After lunch, 2 parallel sessions will take place. So the first will take place in the members' room and will be delivered by members of the NORF-funded QSANet project team. The Open Research 101 workshop is titled Qualitative Secondary Analysis, Extending Fair Data Principles into Practice. Whilst that workshop is going on, here in the meeting room, there will be a series of lightning talks highlighting cross-cutting policy agendas, and these will be immediately followed by a panel discussion titled Connecting Research Security, Academic Freedom, and Research Integrity in an Open Research Environment. So a lengthy title. That panel will be chaired by Senator Laura Harman, Labour spokesperson for Further and Higher Education, Research, Innovation and Science and Disability. The panelists will be Franklin van der Hoeven, Programme Manager of Open Science at TU Delft, and Franklin will deliver some contextual remarks to frame the discussion. The other panelists are Padraig Carmody, member of the Royal Irish Academy, Professor of Geography at Trinity College Dublin, and member of the ELEA Task Force on Academic Freedom and Research Security, and Maura Heine, member of the Royal Irish Academy, Adjunct Professor of Research Integrity at University College Dublin. After this session then, we'll break for a short coffee break. Following the coffee break, there'll be a further 2 parallel sessions. So in the members' room at the front of the building, the project team members of the NORF-funded Tropic project will deliver another Open Research 101 workshop. I'm sorry, I'll just move forward in the slides. This is titled Myths, Maps and Missions Becoming an Open Researcher. At the same time, once again here in the meeting room, there will be a series of lightning talks highlighting open research for innovation, and we'll discuss open research for innovation in more depth in a panel discussion. The panel will be chaired by Claire Dillon, co-founder of Open Network Ireland, and the panelists will be Joy Owongo, Lothara Matas, Aideen Culhane, Professor of Cancer Genomics and Director of the Limerick Digital Cancer Research Centre, and Kalpana Shankar, Professor of Research Policy and Practice and Principal Investigator of the NORF-funded ROAST project, which explores policies, practices and challenges and opportunities for open research and commercialisable research. We will then all reconvene here in the members' room at 4:30, where I will deliver some very brief closing remarks and highlight tomorrow's NORF project meetings and 4 community engagement workshops, which will take place here in the Academy. And finally this evening, for those of you with tickets, you are warmly invited to join us at a reception in Lennon's Yard from 5:30 to 7:30. And now, to officially open the festival, it's my great pleasure to introduce William Beausang, excuse me, Assistant Secretary General at the Department of Further and Higher Education, Research, Innovation and Science, who will deliver the welcome and opening remarks. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Michelle. Good morning, everybody. It's great to be in this setting. Great to be here at this event. I'm delighted to and really appreciate the invitation to open the National Open Research Festival 2025, NORFest. So on behalf of the department, I want to extend a very warm welcome to all of you, whether you're here with us today in the room in RIA, joining across Ireland, or indeed from further afield. And it's very positive in terms of the strong interest, and as demonstrated by your participation, to see the commitment and interest in the development of our open research system. So as it's clear from what Michelle has already said, your agenda for the festival over the next 2 days strongly reflects the growing strength and maturity of the open research movement. I think that's a fair phrase in Ireland. Looking at that programme, it's clear a lot of work and a lot of thought has gone into ensuring that NORFest can act as a springboard for generating greater impetus and momentum for achieving an even stronger and more mature open research ecosystem for Ireland going forward, particularly in light of the action plan vision. Clearly, I'd expect there'll be lots of opportunities to the expert insights, perspectives and experiences of people contributing here today, the speaking sessions, the formal sessions, the panel sessions, and the broader networking opportunities to undertake a deep dive into these themes that are at the heart of the future direction of the open research system in Ireland, in the EU and globally. So I think it's important at the outset to acknowledge and celebrate the progress that has been made collectively by you and your colleagues in Ireland's open research journey. But I think it's also important to set a clear course for the future. As all the management consultants say, if you don't know what port you're sailing, no wind is favourable. So open research from the department's perspective is central to the vision articulated in our National Research and Innovation Strategy 2030, a research system that delivers excellence, delivers impact, while ensuring that the knowledge generated with public investment is accessible for the public good. At the core, it's about enabling innovation. We talk about R&I system, it trips off the tongue. Research, having a strong research system is critical. Having a strong innovation system is just as important. So we're talking about enabling innovation, informing evidence-based policy, and ensuring that the benefits of research reach out into society. Actually, from my own perspective, it's heartening to see the distance travelled in the open research journey over the past, 8 years. I first encountered open research when I joined the Department of Education in 2018, where I had policy responsibility for, among other things, the higher education research system. And coming from the Department of Public Expenditure and Reform, I've been very involved in the launch of the Open Data Initiative in 2014 and the Open Data Portal, which was really the cornerstone of the government, one of the cornerstones of the government reform agenda, which extended into things like lobbying and whistleblowing. And I mean, our work on lobbying was in fact a good example of evidence-informed policy and in fact open research, because it was informed by first-class, open and accessible research carried out here in Ireland by Raj Chari from TCD, Gary Murphy from DCU, and John Hogan from TU Dublin. So that really helped shape that really important policy that policy initiative. So in going into the Department of Education at that time and gaining a sort of deeper perspective into, well, what you'd characterize as the traditional or established academic publishing model, what kind of struck me very forcefully was the commonality between open data objectives and open research in terms of key goals of openness, transparency and collaboration, the creation and sharing and use of knowledge. So the work that's been done by NORF since then, culminating in the 22 National Action Plan to 2030, I think has been path-breaking in positioning open research as a critical objective of our national research system. And we recently got a review from Michelle as the Open Research, as the NORF coordinator, of progress under the plan. which we hope to publish shortly. And it really captures, to me, as you go through it, how leaders in, advocates for open research right across the research system have mobilised from the ground up to pursue the vision set out in the action plan. So since the launch of the action plan, as set out in the review, Ireland has made substantial progress in embedding open research across the national research system, shared policies, national infrastructure, collaborative work, and also the grant funding support underpinning the NORF Open Research Fund. So those projects have certainly advanced national capabilities in open access, publishing and monitoring, data stewardship, research assessment reform, and open research training. And they are being driven, I think it's fair to say, by a remarkable network of experts and practitioners across the country, many of whom are in the room today. But I mean, I think it's essential that 3 years in the action plan that we redouble and intensify our commitment to the vision in the action plan. And the way we do that, I think, is reaffirming the centrality of open research to the realisation, for example, at EU level of, in the context of the European research area, the fifth freedom in terms of a unified borderless market for knowledge through the free movement of research data and knowledge. We need to communicate forcefully the role, contribution of value and value of open research in strengthening, as I mentioned earlier, Ireland's innovation performance, given the issues that were very clearly articulated in the Draghi report last year in terms of lagging EU competitiveness and are reflected in turn in the government's own action plan for competitiveness and productivity, which was published a few weeks ago. We also, broadening out from that, need to highlight how open research practices are at the heart, or can be at the heart, of successfully responding to society's grand challenges. So at this point, as planning is quite advanced by our Minister Lawless, for delivering on the programme for government commitment of a successor programme to the famous PRTLI for research infrastructure across the higher education research system, I think open research practices promoting fair principles, emphasising transparency, reusability and collaboration are foundational to strengthening and optimising the performance of Ireland's research innovation system, along with and complementing that increased in investment. Particular interest of my own from where I am in the department is in light of recent announcements of an AI factory antenna and plans to deliver on a co-funded basis with the Euro HPC joint undertaking a mid-range supercomputer in Ireland, how open research can be a catalyst for the evolution of Ireland's data infrastructure. Open research practices present the potential for a step change in and serving as the ethical and operational backbone to Ireland's evolving national data infrastructure, enabling that sort of seamless integration of data spaces, AI and HPC. But as much as we focus on the opportunities, I think it's important to remain clear on the persisting barriers to broader adoption of open research. So you'll all be very familiar with them, and I'm sure you live with them on a daily basis. The sort of inadequate incentives and recognition in academic systems, challenges in terms of interoperability and sort of fragmentation of data, skills and knowledge gaps, IP concerns, and in particular, cultural factors. So in that context, it's interesting for me to recall that at the September meeting of the Impact 2030 Implementation Forum, Sally Smith from TCD presented on some really interesting results from one of these NORF-funded projects called the Roadmap to Embedding Open Research Practice in Ireland, which he undertook with David O'Connell from UCC, who I don't know, but I believe might be here today. I was struck by the overall findings in terms of summarising the views of researchers that notwithstanding high awareness levels for open research and a strong appetite for open research, that perspective that current incentivisation practices are poorly aligned with open research and responsible assessment practices. And, the reality on the ground that traditional research metrics still play a dominant role in university assessments. So, I mean, these findings, I suppose, bear out for us that open research is also, and probably primarily, a cultural shift, a major change management project across the HE research. It calls on us to rethink how we evaluate research, how we collaborate across disciplines, and how we balance openness with integrity, security, and equity. The diversity of the programme today, from global perspectives on open research to sessions on, as Michelle mentioned, research security, open research monitoring, innovation and training, both reflect the complexity and the promise of that transformation. So in DFHERIS, we are proud to support you, the community, that is driving this work forward. Researchers, librarians, data stewards, policymakers, and many others across Ireland's higher education research institutions. Your efforts are certainly building strong practical foundations of an open research ecosystem, from repositories and fair data services to training, assessment, reform, and international cooperation. Looking ahead, in the department, we remain very committed to promoting and fostering and supporting these efforts through, I think, the importance in particular of a national coordination. It's sort of connected to this sustained consideration of sustainable infrastructure and ensuring that open research remains a key principle embedded in Ireland's broader research and innovation strategy. So we will certainly look to and would intend to engage with NORF and with the community broadly to determine how we ensure that going forward we have the right structures and supports to continue to drive that open research agenda forward. You know, the prize is so important. It's not something that we can just rely on to happen in an organic bottom-up way, and you know that better than I do. So we have the 2030 implementation structures. We're reviewing them at the moment, but I think they can act as a focal point to sustain and intensify the focus of the public research funding system on promoting and incentivising open research as a priority across research performing organisations. In conclusion, I'd like to acknowledge the leadership of the National Open Research Forum and the commitment of all of you involved in the NORF funding projects represented here. I think together you're turning policy into practice and shaping a new research culture which needs to be defined by transparency, trust and shared benefit. I'd like to thank in particular the NORF coordinator, Dr. Michelle Doran, for all her energy and commitment working with colleagues in the Digital Repository and the Royal Irish Academy. Over the next 2 days, I'm saying I encourage you, but I'm sure you'll do this anyway, to take full advantage of the opportunities that NORFest provides. You'll be learning from one another, challenging assumptions and imagining new possibilities for collaboration and impact. So with that conclusion, it just remains for me with great pleasure to officially open NORFest and wish you all an inspiring and productive festival. Thank you very much.